there's a lot of collaboration that is going on. So that is key for those that also want to start having an impact in their community. And again, the issue of social media and the internet. I know most of our youth have a challenge with the internet. However, those of us that have the privilege of the internet, I encourage us to use it wisely to spread the word about climate change, about environmental degradation, to be able to influence the different spheres that you belong to. And then my third advice would be to read. That way you will continuously improve yourself and the quality of knowledge that you pass on to your peers. So for those watching that might feel inspired and be asking themselves, what can they do next? I suggest that you find a network of other young people that you can join. There is Ike, the youth group that is hosting these webinars. We have Zimbabwe Youth Biodiversity Network, we have Green Heart, we have Advocates for Earth, we have Maya from Mashonaland, we have Green Institute from Masingo, a lot of young people in different provinces that you can get in touch with and be able to learn and start making a change in the community, in the community that you stay in. And another thing that I would say is start where you are. Don't be afraid to be the annoying young lady who's always talking about trees at church, or that guy who's always discouraging the use of plastic cups at that party. That's the nature of someone who wants to make a change as far as the environment is concerned. Don't be afraid. Start where you are and the circles of influence that you have, and then get active, participate. The environment needs you. Thank you so much. I'll end here.
Thank you, Cindy, for the presentation. Very enlightening indeed. Just to say indigenous trees as a starter, you can inform others on how you have been doing this, and I think that was very brilliant. Engaging schools, catching them young, integrating livelihood promotion, like you were talking of beekeeping projects as part of climate change management. Some may ask, what is in it for us? You then be able to reap the rewards of climate change management through projects like beekeeping and also the selling of nurseries. So you see the power of collaboration. You mentioned the digital hive that has been produced or that has been developed by young people in education. So I think as young people, we have been encouraged by the presentation. Look at the power of networks. You mentioned a number of organizations that young people can join, whether you are in Masingo, in Blawayo, or you are in Manicaland, you are able to join at least one or two of the institutions that deals with climate change. So we are encouraged by what young people have done or are doing, as presented by our first presenters, Cinderella Dovu. I want to welcome my clients. I want to welcome also Ngoslati, who are also part of our presenters and also colleagues who have joined in. We are in the third series of the webinars that we are having, Youth and Climate Change. That's our panacea. So without wasting time, I would like to invite Ngoslati Nyati to do his presentation. What are the main challenges and opportunities in terms of his personal experience? You may remember him. He shook the world. He shook the media in Victoria Falls, and prior to that, he also was part of a delegation to the United Nations. So over to you, Ngoslati, for your presentation.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Tisima, and very good afternoon to everyone. My name is Nkoslat Niati. I'm a UNICEF with Climate Ambassador, as well as Greenland Africa. Well, without wasting much time, I'm looking at opportunities and challenges being faced by environmental education, speaking from my experience. However, according to my understanding, environmental education, in my own perspective, is a process that allows individuals to explore environmental issues, engage in problem identification, provision of sustainable solutions. However, environmental education, furthermore, environmental education, it creates a deeper understanding of environmental issues and a strong bond between humans and nature as a whole. It helps in the development of skills to make informed and responsible decisions that promote sustainable development. As a young person, I was exposed to environmental education at the age of 10, and currently I'm 17 years old. It has played a vital role in shaping my character and my approach towards environmental issues. In 2015, I took part in what I would label as my life-changing excursion, when I participated in a clean energy workshop that made me realize that despite my age, I had a huge role to play in the society. This led me to venture into the journey of volunteering to take care of my mother nature. I participated in the UNICEF Climate Mapping Program, where we as young people participated in identifying problems and effects of climate change in Victoria Falls. So this program actually empowered me or imparted me with the best ways to how to mitigate and adapt to climate change in my area. From the clean energy workshop, I learned that it is the high time we take action as young people to change, to make a change in our society. However, after the clean energy workshop, I pioneered the establishment of a biogas digester at Chamawano Primary School, where I did my primary. As I speak today, the digester is actually functional, and furthermore, I've managed to replicate the program further to my secondary school. I'm doing my high school right now, in High School. Apart from being a UNICEF ambassador, I believe that charity begins at home and in Victoria Falls as well. I've volunteered my time as a youth ambassador for Greenland Africa, and opportunities like these help me in raising awareness and education on environmental issues, as well as participation in different youth forums and activities. I believe in the power of young people, and I therefore encourage that environmental education should be given to children at the tender age, thus ensuring a promising and a sustainable future for all. Furthermore, environmental education is vital and exposes people to many things that threaten Mother Nature. In 2019, I had an opportunity to take part in the 25th session of the Conference of Parties, COP25, where I had the chance to lobby for children's inclusion in meetings and negotiations at high-level political forums. I've had a privilege to be one of the child representatives who submitted the Declaration on Children, Youth, and Climate Action, which was signed during the event. Driving environmental education has also opened new doors for me, as I was one of the child representatives during the 6th African Regional Forum on Sustainable Development, which was held in Victoria Falls. This gave me more insight on sustainable development goals, and through networking with other young people, I was challenged to think about the role that young people can play in promoting SDGs and ensuring that their attainment can be a reality. My passion in environmental issues has created a huge platform for me to be part of panelists during the UNICEF Group of Friends Summit, which brought together various member states. And then which brought in various member states, and I was being one of the few children who took part, which really motivates me and makes me believe that one day our leaders will actually take action and make a change. As a young person, currently I'm 17 years, I've managed to gain popularity, becoming well-known for driving call for action when it comes to environmental education. I've also managed to raise awareness on environmental issues through different media platforms like BBC, like CNN, like National Geoworld, like VOA, and our very own ZBC, Chronicles, just to mention but a few. For every journey, however, there are some potholes. However, it takes a brave person, it takes a brave girl, it takes a brave boy to get through. In my journey of raising awareness on environmental issues, I've also observed and come across some challenges that gave me strength to pursue fulfilling my dreams. some of the challenges that have come across on my way and observed. For example, Zimbabwe is a country rich with cultural diversity. It has got many languages. However, environmental education faces a big drawback or a very big disadvantage, because some people cannot embrace environmental education or environmental issues because not everyone is literate to hear the information. However, it is my encouragement that if the information can actually be provided in different languages and different dialects that we have in Zimbabwe, that will actually play a vital role. My other advice is let environmental education be taught in schools at a tender age. However, even English does acknowledge the fact that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. However, this is going to help them to embrace environmental education even as they grow. Furthermore, not everyone is interested in environmental issues. Nowadays, life is all about video gaming, music, fashion. And as a result, dissemination of environmental information faces a concrete drawback through resistance from various groups of people. However, as I said earlier on, it is advisable that this education be provided to people, to young people, at a very tender age. This will help them to embrace environmental education as they grow up. Lastly, not everyone listens to expert advice on environmental issues. Today I was speaking about the Amazon forest, the world carbon sink. It's actually facing deterioration, or it's actually facing danger, because not everyone is listening to advice that let's conserve and protect nature. Let current climate change fire warning shots to the world leaders that if they don't act now, the worst is yet to come. However, the other paying part is some of us, we have actually devoted our time, our resources, according to face those consequences in the future, whilst we have talked and talked and talked. In conclusion, I would like to encourage everyone listening to me today to take part in promoting environmental education in order to save our mother nature. With this, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ngosla Tinyati, for the presentation. Indeed, he reiterated the need to start with the little ones. Let's educate them even at school level. Let's educate them at primary school. The need to ensure that environmental education is also in all languages, including signing. So the gospel should be spread everywhere. I see action. You started the biogas digester. It's already functional. It's something that you can point to say, I'm already doing this, and this is what I've done. Not only as an ambassador, but also someone who lives or stays in a community. 7 years of environmental experience. Well done. Thank you very much. Keep it up, and we appreciate the effort that you are doing in your school, in your community. At this moment, I would like to also acknowledge one of our presenters. We have joined Mr. Mtasa. Welcome to this webinar series, the third one that we are having, Youth and Climate Change. I received a request from Dr. McLaren. He has another commitment, so I'll give him these 6 minutes now so that he can be able to present before Mrs. Chapungu because of an emergent commitment that he has to do. Now, I would like to introduce Dr. Mandaza. Can you please come in and do your 6 minutes presentation? Thank you very much.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. So, yeah, I'm glad to be part of this meeting and to meet various young people who are into climate action. So basically I'm in Lupane, and I need to travel back to Bulawayo before the curfew. So allow me just to give the overview of the importance of climate action and youth participation in climate change negotiations, as well as the climate solutions. So maybe as a bit of background to climate global youth participation, after so many years of lobbying to have a youth space at the global level in terms of being involved in climate action, in 2009, the UNFCCC Secretariat extended the constituent status to various admitted NGOs who are involved in climate change actions. So these admitted NGOs, they are now able to receive official information, participate in meetings, request speaking slots, as well as receive logistical support at UNFCCC conferences. So mainly these admitted NGOs, they are on an observer ticket, but some governments are generous enough to offer these admitted NGOs to be on the party badges so that they'll be able to participate and negotiate in various climate change agendas. So you realize that youth, they participate in areas such as education, public awareness, mitigation, as well as adaptation. They also participate in areas that has to do with gender as well as technology transfer. Currently, we have over 5,000 individual members and many youth organizations around the world who are part of what is known as YUNGO. So YUNGO simply stands for Youth NGOs within the UNFCCC framework. So they do have a constituent status. So how does YUNGO function? It does not have any paid staff. The youth around the world, they are the vehicles that drive YUNGO day-to-day operation, and the engagement is 100% voluntary, which means you and me are from any part of the world, we can be part of YUNGO as long as we are in the 35 years age brackets. Yes, so maybe I would also want to give youth climate change movements from the global north. So as far as youth engagement in various spheres of the world, young people that are taking various actions that are making them being recognized in terms of what they are doing. And one of the great initiatives that youth have been taking has been Fridays for the Future. I think you have seen the hashtag climate strike that has been trending last year. So basically the youth strike for climate has been led by a 17-year-old Greta, who has been trending around the world from Sweden, who started a solo demonstration in August of 2018, and she has begun to trend on social media platforms. And right now she has a book that is actually out there regarding the work that she has been doing. Then we also have other movements such as Extinction Rebellion. This movement is in the United Kingdom. We started in May 2018. They have 3 demands, which are 3 demands bill. Then we have got other initiatives such as Tell the Truth. These are young people who are trying to pressurize their governments to tell the truth by declaring climate and ecological emergency. They are working hand in glove with other institutions to communicate with agents for change. Then we also have Beyond Politics, where the government must create and be led by the decisions of citizens assembly on climate and ecological justice. So these initiatives are happening in the global north. But back home in the global south, we also have many African youths who have become involved with climate change issues in 2006 when the African Youth Initiative on Climate Change was basically launched. We have the 350 Africa, which is basically a movement, not just an organization. So it uses grassroots organizing to run locally driven campaigns in every corner of the globe. So the number 350, it simply means climate safety to preserve our planet. Scientists tell us that we must reduce the number of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere from its current level of 400 parts per million to below 350 parts per million. So what is this importance that is attached to young people around the world to participate in the climate process? We realize that young people are very flexible and they've got a lot of energy. And it's very important for decision makers to make them their best allies through their collaborative efforts. For example, if we take the Zimbabwe context, There's a lot of energy in social media, be it Facebook, be it Twitter, and we have a lot of activists who are actually advocating for rights, justice. But as young people who are passionate about climate change, we may as well take our lot into that. We need as many climate activists as possible. We need researchers. We need bloggers on climate change who will be able to influence policy. So youth have realized that they are today's leaders, and so many times they are referred to as future leaders. But are we really leading when we are not taking up leadership opportunities in the climate space? So the leadership gap between those in power and the youth should also be addressed. So we realize that youth are the drivers of change, and they have no responsibilities and are quick to take action through innovation. So running educational programs, conserving our nature, promoting renewable energy, then adopting environmental friendly practices. These are some of the small initiatives that we can do as young people. So many people, they rush to the global stage, but I believe in the principle of acting locally and having an impact globally. So it is these local actions that we take as young people that will be able to take us far and also make us being recognized nationally. So the relevance of youth participation in climate change negotiations, government, climate policy, and climate solutions. Let me just start by highlighting that since we now have a global body of youths in terms of coordination, we host a conference of youths that acts as a pressure to the actual climate change negotiations that are known as the COPs, or the Conference of Parties. So every year before the COP, young people, they self-organize into a 3-day conference where they discuss various thematic areas that will be able to fit into the negotiation items. For example, last year, the conference had more than 300 participants from 85 countries. So you and I can be part of that COI. But before the global COIs, we also have various African initiatives, our own AfriYork, and we can also have organized as youth what we call COP in my city. 2 years ago in Cameroon, we had the opportunity to organize one such initiative called COP in my city, whereby young people will be able to simulate the negotiations of what is actually going to happen at the next COP. So for us to be able to be integrated into the COI, we need to realize that COI primarily serves as a space for capacity building and policy training to prepare young people for their participation at COP. But before that preparation, we also need our local COIs. So these participants are introduced to the various working groups in Yungo to develop a common policy positions. So if you're passionate about a certain working group, such as adaptation, renewable energy, mitigation, you can as well take interest into any one of these working groups that are there. But what we would like to see is not only youth participating at these global youth working groups, but we may also try to streamline and integrate these working groups at a national level, be it at provincial level, and also at our local communities. So what we feed into these global working groups are the small actions that we'll be doing in our respective spheres, networks, movements, and organizations. So allow me now to focus on the youth and negotiations. So after a conference of youth, a report is handed over to the UN Secretary General or to the UNFCCC Executive Secretary on the youth position and negotiated items. So it is the views of these young people that will also shape the overall negotiation items that may be tabled. So young people's objectives at these meetings of the COP are diverse. While some attempt to just share their views with delegates, others attempt to raise awareness about the work of their organizations through side events. So whilst the COIs are important, at the actual COP, we may try to showcase what we are actually doing in terms of innovations through side events. So these side events, they offer opportunities for open dialogue, exploring new topics, getting new collaborations that may not be fully discussed during the formal negotiation meetings, given the limitation of time and given that some young people may not be accredited with party badges, but with observer badges. So side events are successful in identifying concrete linkages between local activities by the youth and issues discussed at the intergovernmental negotiations. Why do we need that? Because we need the voice of the young people, we need perspectives of the young people. So young people's activities at COP meetings demonstrate their willingness to contribute to the process, but they are also sufficient for effective participation at meetings of the COP. Then we also have these plenary sessions where they offer a
Mr. Chisina, have we lost Clarence?
I'm sure there's network glitch from his side, but it should be around. But all the same, I'm sure his presentation was about to finish. Can you check with him if he is able to come back? But I'm sure we are also able to share the presentation with you colleagues who are in this meeting. So allow me to just say we have been encouraged, or we have been informed of a number of negotiation tables, a number of initiatives that we can do at global level. As you are aware, the International Youth Day commemorations this year, 2020, are focusing on youth action for global engagement, or youth engagement for global action. So this is what we should do, and this is what we need young people to really look at SADC level, at African Union level, at UN level. As he was unpacking, a number of NGOs that are run by young people are participating at global forums. So we should be able to take our activism to the national, global, regional forums. As indicated, there was a lobbying that was done for youth space on global world, and it succeeded. We shared about the Junko, they tell the truth. You need to hold your government accountable of issues that are around or that are being implemented by government. So as young people, we are energetic, we are passionate, we should use our energy for the positive. I'm sure that's it for his presentation. We will, at this moment, let me call in our presenter. We are running out of time, but our presenter, the next presenter is Mrs. Chapungu, who is the communications officer from Environmental Management Agency. Over to you, Mrs. Chapungu. Kindly unmute kindly unmute, Mrs. Chapungu. Yes, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Chisina. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Joyce Chapungu. I'm with the Environmental Management Agency. And unlike most people here, I'm not an advocate. I'm not into advocacy, but I am with the regulator in environmental management. So I'm going to present on environmental education, on why youths are supposed to participate in environmental education. I wanted to share my screen, but I can see that the host has disabled me from sharing. Can you assist me?
Okay, the host is working on it. I think you should be able to share shortly.
It's okay. So while I'm waiting for the host to work on their settings, I think I'll just start my presentation. So basically, I will be talking about why we as the youth are supposed to participate in environmental education. And I'm glad that Cinderella has already defined environmental education for us, and she has already outlined the components of environmental education. So I'll go straight to the legal provisions of environmental education in the country and even in the international fora. So if we look at our legislation in the country, I'm sure we all know that the Constitution is the most superior piece of legislation in the country. And in that Constitution, there are environmental rights that are laid out in Section 73. And the same rights are also laid out in Section 4 of the Environmental Management Act. And for your own information, the Environmental Management Act is the major piece of legislation that governs environmental activities in Zimbabwe. So jointly, these two pieces of legislation provide for environmental rights. And according to those environmental rights, every citizen of Zimbabwe is entitled to access to environmental information. So it means that as a citizen of Zimbabwe, it's your right to actually access environmental information. And if we also go to international legislation, and in this instance, since we are talking about climate change, the major reference point is the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. And if we look at Article 6, it emphasizes the need for environmental education and paying particular attention to the issue of climate change. So basically that's what the law says about climate change, about the need for environmental education, the need for us to participate in the raising of environmental education, also for us to be informed as the youths on environmental education. But then, now we know what the law says about environmental education, but we are talking about the youths. Why is it that the youths are the ones that are supposed to be educated more, or they're the ones that are supposed to be educating more? Is that what we are saying? Or is it everyone's responsibility? Is it everyone who's supposed to be educated? Is it everyone who is supposed to participate in environmental education? I'll answer it by saying, working towards sustainable development is everyone's responsibility. It means working towards achievement of the global goals is everyone's responsibility. It also means that working towards attainment of global goal number 13 on climate action is everyone's responsibility. However, the youths have a greater role to play in making sure that this is achieved. And this therefore calls upon the youths to be very active in terms of education, and it means that they themselves have to be educated, they have to have the knowledge, they have to be well informed on environmental issues, especially issues to do with climate change, because of the following reasons that I'm going to be talking about. Maybe just to check with you, Mr. Gisina, am I now able to share my screen?
Yes, you are.
All right, let me. But it's still saying the host has disabled me.
Check now.
All right. Thank you. All right, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. So I'm talking about the reasons that make us as the youth that give us a mandate to take the lead in terms of environmental education. So as the youth, we are the age group that is active. We are more active than any other age group, and we can participate in any issue, whether be it environmental or be it related to climate change or any issue that needs participation. As the youths, we are more active than any other age group. Hence, there is need for us to take a leading role in environmental education. The youths also constitute a greater part of the population. For example, in Zimbabwe, the youths constitute about 67.7% of the total population. That's according to the UNFPA. And when we're talking about the youth, we are considering those under the age of 35. So it means that in the event of a disaster or in the event that something goes wrong with climate change, it means the people that are going to be impacted more are the youths, because that's the greater part of the population. So it means that greater part of the population has to participate more in terms of coming up with mitigation strategies, in terms of advocacy, in terms of raising awareness, in terms of even working in projects that have to do with adaptation to those impacts of climate change. And also the youths are more vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, such as droughts, heat waves, and floods, and other impacts that we can talk about. Because of that, it means they have to put more effort. They have to emphasize more on the need to make sure that they are protected. It means they have to put more effort and make sure that in whatever they are doing, they are working towards providing a solution to those impacts so that their vulnerability will be reduced. And considering also the life expectancy, like in Zimbabwe, the life expectancy is around 61 thereabout, according to the predictions of the World Bank. It means that our youths are the ones that are going to live longer than maybe the older generation. And if they're going to live longer in an environment which has been degraded because of climate change, it means they're going to bear the consequences of climate change more. It means they're going to suffer more. So it means the youth have to participate more in making sure that people are educated on climate change issues. And youths also, they have the ability to adapt. They have the ability to change their lifestyles. Unlike the older generation, I'm sure you know of an adage which says you cannot teach an old dog new tricks. But as for the youths, they're still young, they're still vibrant, they're still energetic. They can change, they're not resistant to change. So it means, let's say there are new lifestyles that have to be adopted that will contribute towards mitigating the impacts of climate change. The youths are able to do that. So for those reasons, it means that the youths are in a better position to engage in environmental education, to engage in education for climate change, and also to participate in issues to do with climate change. So as the Environmental Management Agency, we have been working with the youths from preschool, primary school children, high school children, even at tertiary education level, in an effort to make sure that they are informed about environmental issues, including climate change, to make sure that they are at the forefront, they are aware of environmental issues. And if the youth are aware, it means the whole community will be aware, because they'll be in a position to cascade information to their adults. So those are some of the activities that we have done with schools. We have had school debates from 2009 to 2016, where we had a number of schools coming on board, taking up various environmental topics that we would give to them, and they would debate and come up with points and strategies and exchange knowledge. And that was a good way of making sure that the children are well informed, because they would also be in a position to research on the various topics. So at the end of the day, would result in youths that are informed of the environmental challenges that we are facing as a nation and as a globe at large. We also had a competition that we did from 2015 to 2017, which is called the Tavatose Sisonke Visual Art Competition. This was in collaboration with the National Gallery of Zimbabwe. Cinderella stressed about collaboration. So we also do collaborations. We collaborated with the National Gallery of Zimbabwe. And for this one, we would come up with a theme for the particular year and take it to the schools, and the schools would have some artifacts being produced relating to that particular theme. So this was a way of promoting art, but at the same time, it was a way of making sure that the youths, especially those of the school-going age, are well aware of the environmental issues that they are facing and the solutions that would make the problems, to make sure that the problems have less impact on the citizens of the country. Then we also have school environmental clubs that we promote from tertiary institutions, secondary schools, primary schools, even at preschools. And these environmental clubs are basically a point of interface for us with the schools, so that we have a group of people that is more environmental conscious than the rest of the schools. So in case there are programs that are coming to the school, they will come through the club. In case there are even awareness programs that have to go to the schools, the information will be going through these clubs. And if there are any projects, environmental projects to be done in those schools, these clubs are the ones that will be on the forefront, and they will be the ones that will be taking the information to the other schools. And as of now, we have clubs in more than 1,000 schools, and we expect to have clubs in every school, so that we ensure that every school has access to environmental information. Then we also had a pageant that we ran from 2012 up to 2014. This pageant was called Miss Earth, and it was just meant to garner the interest of the youth in environmental education. And we also do school projects where we encourage schools to carry out projects that help to solve the environmental issues that they will be facing in their various communities, depending with the issues that are faced in their communities. For instance, if it's a rural community, some of the projects that are undertaken include gully reclamation, fire management projects, and so forth. We also have orchards, nutritional gardens, as well as forestry projects that are done by various schools. And if it's an urban setup, we can have even waste separation projects, since issues to do with waste management are most found in the urban areas. And also, we promote creation of green jobs, especially through recycling activities, where we have a number of community organizations that engage in recycling, and we are there to promote such activities. So all this is channeled towards the youth. It helps the youths to appreciate the environment, to appreciate the challenges that are faced in the environment, and also to appreciate even the solutions that can be put in place to make sure that we don't suffer from the impacts of climate change. And these are just pictures of the school debates competition, and as well as the Miss Earth pageant. And now, in light with COVID-19, the previous presenters mentioned that in as much as COVID is there, we still have to make sure that our youths have environmental information. Remember the environmental right that I spoke about, that is everyone's right to access environmental information, which means that even if there is a pandemic like this, our youth still need to access environmental information. So we have also made use of social media, like the picture that is there. It's an example of one of the Zoom meetings that we conducted a few months back, where we wanted to make sure that we're in touch with the schools, including also the patrons of the environmental clubs, just to make sure that we give them more information and to make sure that they are educated even during this time. So basically, That's the issue with the youths. They have to continue participating in environmental issues. They have to be educated. And as they receive the education, they have to educate others as well. And I will conclude with this statement from Kami Naidu, who's the Secretary General of Amnesty International, where he says, youths are often told they are tomorrow's leaders, but if they wait until tomorrow, there may not be any future in which to lead. Which means for the youths, let's not wait for tomorrow. Let's act now. If there's anything that has to be done now, let it be done. Because if you wait, there might not be a tomorrow to lead, because you can't just start tomorrow. Like what the previous presenter said, that you cannot just start from an international platform. You have to start locally. Once you start locally, your efforts are recognized locally, then you can go international. By that, I thank you.
Mr. Chisina, are you there? Mr. Chisina, if you're speaking, you're on mute. Okay, thank you so much, Mrs. Chapungu, for the amazing presentation that you have shared with us. We appreciate so much. I think we have lost Mr. Chisina. It could be internet problems, but we are going to move on to Mr. Mutasa from the Climate Change Management Department under the Ministry of Environment. Yes, under the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change, Hospitality Industries. So, Mr. Mutasa, I hand it over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Elizabeth Gulu, for the opportunity. Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Tatenda Mutasa. I'm with the Climate Change Management Department, principal actually, because I've been doing this stuff for quite some time. And I hold the position of the Office of for Communications, Public Awareness, Education, and I happen to be the Capacity Building Initiative for Transparency, CBIT, Technical Focal Point, as well as the UNCCLN Project Coordinator. We are trying to develop a National Climate Change Learning Strategy, and I'm the one coordinating that project as well. So under this, on this segment, I'm going to be looking at the role of government in supporting initiatives in climate change education, and I think I will have my 5 or 6 minutes, because it's a very short presentation. It's not a very big presentation. Right, so that's the outline of my presentation. I'm going to give you the introduction. After the introduction, this one, Charles. After the introduction, then the role of government, our programs and initiatives, youth programs, actually youth-related programs, then our priority interventions from a government point of view, then recommendations for youth, and many others. Right. So so this is just an introduction. The first point saying that youth are very, very important in pursuing the climate change agenda. As Climate Change Department, we value the voices of the youth and their contribution to climate change management. And the government of Zimbabwe actually recognizes the key role that the youths in Zimbabwe and even the world globally play in tackling climate change, environmental degradation. And we are working closely with the youth-led and youth-focused organizations. around the country in different initiatives, be it climate change management, be it environmental conservation, water conservation, soil conservation, rainwater harvesting, and many others. So basically the idea of involving the youth in climate change programming, environmental programming, is to enlighten them in climate change management in the country, the policy and institutional environment that is available, and possible entry points for engagement. So basically we normally discuss international programs that can benefit the youth in those programs that we'll be doing. Then coming now to the issue of education. Education is an essential tool of the climate change agenda, because we're talking of climate change management. It helps people to understand and address the impacts of climate change, encourages changes in their attitudes, behavior, and helps them to adapt and mitigate to the changing climate. So Article 6 of the Framework Convention on Climate Change, I'm happy that Joyce Chapungu talked about the convention itself. Article 6 is on climate change, education, training, and public awareness on and Article 12 as well of the Paris Agreement is on education and awareness. So it reads, parties shall cooperate in taking measures as appropriate to enhance climate change education, training, public awareness, public participation, and public access to information, recognizing the importance of these steps with respect to enhancing actions under this agreement. So as a party to this agreement, Zimbabwe, we have to make sure that we implement this agreement and its provisions and all of its articles. So we have a role to play in our quest to attain our national climate change vision of having a climate resilient and low-carbon Zimbabwe, and try to climate-proof all our socio-economic sectors through effective climate change management. So now coming now to the second part of my presentation, the role of government. The role of government and looking at the programs and initiatives. We facilitate. The first one is we facilitate youth participation in national climate change programs. We engage youth organizations, youth groups in our be it policy or strategy formulation and even implementation of response measures. As I have already highlighted earlier on, we're in the process of developing a national climate change learning strategy. So from the start, we're engaging the youth. We went with the Jean Mandulas the first time, the inception meeting. Then on midterm workshop, we went with the Elizabeth Kulugulu, who was representing the youth, making sure that the youth voices are heard in that learning strategy. We also support youth participation in international climate change programs, including the COP, Conference of Parties, even the COI, Conference of Youths, and many, many others. Last year in Madrid, we supported two youths, Lisa Chitura and Jean Bertrand Mandu, to attend the COI 15 and the COP 25 in Madrid. So we support both the pre-COP meetings, the actual COP, and the post-COP meetings or workshops. It's a capacity building segment, sort of platform for our youths. Then there's the issue of climate change youth engagements. We normally organize engagements, youth engagements. Early this year, the youths, we organized an engagement with our minister, Honorable Mangaliso, and they had an engagement with the minister under the 4th National Communication Program. And the minister was outlining his vision and how he wants the youth to be part of the team, and making sure that when we are implementing everything, the youth will be aware and they will be involved. So basically, we have an open door policy to the youths. As I've already highlighted, Elon, that there was an engagement with our minister, the youth with our minister. We have an open door policy. The youth are free to come, they are free to air out their views, they are free to come with their concepts, they are free to do everything that they feel that it's relevant, it's for the betterment of the country. Then there are issues of resource mobilization for youth programs. We help the youths to mobilize resources for their programs. There is an initiative under the UNCCLN, because under that UNCCLN project, there is a point whereby we have to implement 2 priority actions. So one of the priority actions we have given the youth, and they want to build capacity of rural youth groups, and that one is going to be organized or to be managed by Africa Youth Initiative on Climate Change. We gave it to the youth, and we also do proposal development. We build their capacity on developing proposals so that they can mobilize resources for their programs and projects. Also, as you are all aware that we have a climate smart agriculture manual. So right now we are moving around at all our agricultural colleges, doing the training of trainers, disseminating climate smart agriculture practices to extension workers, trainee extension workers, lecturers first, then trainee extension workers. Then after those agricultural colleges, we are going to go the youth groups and try to make sure that we train them on climate smart agriculture practices to make sure that our agriculture is climate resilient. Then we also facilitate project partnerships with the government of Zimbabwe, with our government, with the government actually, I'm representing the government. There's a project called Capacity Building Initiative for Transparency. We were very lucky as a country to have our project being endorsed by the Global Environmental Facility, and under that project, we have put the youth as project partners. They will be part of the implementation team, project implementation team, PIT, of that project, Capacity Building Initiative for Transparency, and it's close to $2 million, and it will benefit the country, and youth will be participating effectively in this project. Then we also offer career guidance. We go to schools, we do everything to the youth, and make sure that our message is heard. Then coming now to our priority interventions. Our priority, what are we prioritizing this year going forward? Implementation of NDCs. As you all know that we have what we call nationally determined contribution, NDC. And that NDC, it's reflecting our commitments. What is it that we want to do in achieving the Paris Agreement? So our commitments are focusing mostly on the energy sector. Our mitigation actions are focusing mostly on the energy sector, and our adaptation component is focusing on the agriculture sector. So trying to implement that NDC, we have developed what we call a low emission development strategy, and implementation of that NDC is starting this year. Actually, implementation of the Paris Agreement, which we are party to, is starting this year. So our priority is implementation of the Paris Agreement through the NDC or the LEDs for low carbon development. Then resource mobilization, that's the second one. We are very, very serious in mobilizing resources. As I've already alluded to, we recently had our project information form, PIF, approved by the Global Environmental Facility. So we're going to get to the tune of $50,000 to develop a full project proposal, which will give us a total of close to $2 million under the Capacity Building Initiative for Transparency, which most of the youth they will be part of. Then another priority intervention is education awareness and training. We have an education awareness training program in the ministry, which is being implemented by this department, and I'm also the focal person for that. And that program is running, and we go to universities, we go to schools, high schools, everywhere, trying to make sure that this message of trying to spread the gospel of climate change and its management. Then another priority intervention is development and promotion of renewable energy alternatives. As you know that our focus, our NDC focus is energy. So we are promoting renewable energy alternatives, solar, biogas, and many, many others that are climate friendly. Then also the other issue, waste is also a sector that releases greenhouse gases in the atmosphere and responsible for climate change. So we are promoting waste energy conversions and many other alternatives under this sector. Then sustainable forest management, then building adaptive capacity and resilience through DRM, disaster risk management, and climate smart agriculture interventions. Under explaining the last point, building adaptive capacity, we managed to mobilize more resources. We have a project that is running, we mobilize the resources to build capacity, adaptive capacity, to develop a national adaptation plan. So that project is running up to next year, and we're in the process of developing that national adaptation plan. And I think that it's one of our priority interventions. And, youth are encouraged to be part of the team who will be implementing the project, the national adaptation plan itself. Then what are my recommendations? It's wiser, it's good for the youths to partner with the climate change management department, even the ministry itself, and be involved in climate or environment programming, because there are benefits. Just like these guys have a youth initiative on climate change, for us to know them, they've been coming to our offices. For us to know them, they've been participating in our programs. So I urge all the youths to partner with our department, with our ministry, and be involved in our program, so that they are not, we include them in our programming. Then also it's wiser to take advantage of the open door policy that we have as government, as a ministry, and have your issues dealt with, because this is the time. There's no other time that you're going to come. If you see a ministry with an open door policy, it's wiser to take advantage of that policy and make sure that you air out your views, you submit your concerns, you do everything that to make sure that you are recognized and your issues are known, because this is the time. Then the issue of resource mobilization for climate change activities, we can support resource mobilization. Why? Because we are mobilizing resources for the country, and we have a record, we have mobilized more resources for the country. I think you know the recently approved around close to $50 million GCF project that was approved, and another one, the WFP one, that was approved close to $10 million, that was approved by the GCF as well. Then this one, the CBIT, close to $2 million, that was also approved. So we have a track record of developing proposals, bankable, credible proposals. So it's wiser to link up with our department for proposal development and even resource mobilization for your climate change activities, so that we can teach you, we can train you how to develop bankable proposals. We have a projects office. We are the NDA. We nationally we are the NDA. We are the also CTC and focal point. We do almost everything to do with climate change programming. We are the people. Then it's good to work with the government in climate change awareness and education in public schools. It's wise to take advantage of the climate change education and awareness program for the government of Zimbabwe. We have the resources, we can finance you at times, and we'll make sure that you will be part of the team that will be doing the awareness and education in that program in public schools. So take advantage of this opportunity and come. Our doors are open, and we are ready to assist. We are ready to work together with you. Thank you very much for taking your time and listening to my voice. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mtasa, for the elaborate presentation, as well as confirming that the ministry is available for the young people. We have seen from your presentation that indeed you are working very well with the young people. At this point, I'm sure we had 2 or 3 questions that have been posted, but one that I remember is the one that was posted for Nkosi to say, what is your opinion of the greatest climate change risk for Southern Africa? I'm sure you talked about some of the issues, but just in a minute, this will allow us to check if we have other questions that have been posted on the chat before I leave to Africa Youth in Climate Change for a closing remark because of our time. Ngosi?
Yes, I had the question. Risk, which are being faced in Southern Africa currently, we've got like high temperatures, we've got unstable season, we've got like changing season, we've got decreased amounts of rainfall, especially in my area where I'm in right now.
Okay, thank you for that. And I'm sure we heard for ourselves the opportunities that are there. The ministry is available, environmental management agents is available for us. Let's engage because we have the energy. This is the time. The future starts right here. Over to you, Elizabeth, for the concluding remarks and as well as to thank the participants as well as the colleagues that were presenting.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Kisina, and thank you so much to the presenters. I'm not sure if is Faith on the platform? Okay.
Yes, I'm
sure.
on the platform.
Okay, thank you so much, Faith. Faith, maybe you can just go on and read the comments that maybe on our chat box. We failed to connect live on Facebook due to some technical challenges. So maybe for other people's sake, so that they can benefit and engage with the discussions, you can give us the comments that are there.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. This is a comment from Lisa. Great presentation, Cindy. Every small effort by different individuals, when combined, makes a big difference. It is really up to us to influence our peers to be more climate conscious. That was a beautiful comment from Lisa. And also, she went on to say, catch them young. Thank you for sharing your story, Ngosi.
Thank you. Do you have any more comments?
Yes, I only have two. And the one from Kupuma, there is a need for more effective approaches that integrate climate change plans and actions into core social, a point raised by Ngoslati on all native languages. Economic, seeing opportunities for job creation and development strategies and measures. While separate action plans are needed to articulate the nature and the breadth of responses required, integration is increasingly being recognized as essential for effective implementation. Thank you, Nkosi. Then from Samantha, she said, thanks a lot. That's all the comments that we have.
Thank you so much, Faith. I think the other, I'm not sure if it's a comment from Eliad Fuma. It's more related on policy and integration. Maybe if we can have a comment from Mr. Mtasa and Joyce, if she's still there, before I give the closing remarks.
Sorry, maybe I did not get the question, Elisa.
Okay, Eliad posted a comment. He said there is need for more effective approaches that integrate climate change plans and actions into core social, a point raised by Nkosilati. Economic, seeing opportunities for job creation and development strategies and measures, while separate action plans are needed to articulate the nature. While separate action plans are needed to articulate the nature and the breadth of responses required, integration is increasingly being recognized as essential for effective implementation. That was a comment from Elliot on integration on climate-related activities.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to give a comment on that?
Yes, that's not a problem. We are really trying to do what Eliad Kapfuma said in terms of integration of climate change plans under the National Adaptation Plan. That is what the ministry is doing under that project, and it's work being done in trying to come up with district development plan, national adaptation plan, trying to make sure that we integrate climate change into development plans and all those things. It's work being done under National Adaptation Planning Project. The resources from the GCF, maybe just in summary, just in a nutshell.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mtasa, and thank you so much to our participants, to our panelists. We want to thank you so much for the lovely presentation that were very simple to understand, most of them. Yes, this program has been brought to you by the African Youth Initiative on Climate Change Zimbabwe in partnership with the Government of Zimbabwe, the Ministry of Environment, the Climate Change Management Department, and the Zimbabwe Youth Council. We are going to be having a number of series. We are left with 2. So join us next week, same time, same day. We'll be discussing on NDCs and nature-based solutions, the role of young people and the role of government and the corporate world, what they see and what they understand when you're talking about green growth, green economy, and a just transition. From me, climate friendly, Elizabeth Kulukulu is my name. Thank you so much, and enjoy your day.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.